In this episode, I'm going to talk about something that some of you know all too well, and that is burnout. I have started businesses in 3 different niches, all while raising kids, and I've experienced burnout at some level in all of those businesses. I love to work, I love to grow businesses, but burnout can really sneak up on me out of nowhere. For me, that looks like being easily frustrated, overwhelmed, and just not looking forward to the work that I do and finding joy in it anymore. And I know it's not just me. As I coach for Christian women entrepreneurs who grow online businesses, almost every business owner that I have spoken to has experienced this at some point in their journey at some level. The main thing I've learned is that you really need to be proactive by putting into place systems and disciplines so that you can stop the burnout before it even starts and that you can continue to love your business for years and even decades down the road. As someone who refuses to live burned out, this is the anti-burnout checklist that I live by. The first is committing to a Sabbath for my business. So I choose at least one day every week that I do absolutely nothing for my business. I do not check my analytics or my sales. I do not make a social media post. I do not record a YouTube video. I don't take client calls or meetings. I do absolutely nothing for my business, at minimum, one day per week. This really helps to minimize burnout by giving myself rest and making sure that I keep my priorities where they should be. It allows me to spend the time that I want to spend with my family and with God without being distracted by what's going on in my business. Next is going to therapy. I am a huge supporter for counseling for anyone, but especially business owners, especially moms of littles. It is just such a helpful thing. Actually, my counselor was the very first person that I told about wanting to become a coach for Christian women entrepreneurs. And that conversation really gave me the push that I needed to start this business that had been on my heart for a long time. Apart from that, it is so helpful to have someone to help you talk through any past trauma or current life stresses so that you can just relieve some of that pressure off of your mind, off of your body, and allow yourself to work through those things so that you can think clearly when you are working towards your goals in your business. Third is scheduling out your week hour by hour. I have a whole video of how I do this that I will link in the description below, but I highly recommend that at the beginning of every week, you set your schedule for the week, hour by hour, exactly what you're going to do. This creates boundaries and structure and a clear stopping time. And when you put in the most important things that you need to do into an hour by hour calendar, it gives you the clarity and the understanding to know that you are getting done exactly what needs to be done to move the needle in your business, and you're not getting distracted by some of that extra fluff that can take up your time but doesn't actually do much for your business. It keeps you grounded and helps you rest assured that you did what you needed to get done to move the needle in your business that day. I also build margin into my weekly schedule. That makes sure that when things inevitably come up with my kids or my family, maybe I get a call from the school nurse that I need to pick a kid up, or we have an unexpected appointment that I need to go to, I already have that margin built in, so I'm not leading with frustration that those family things have encroached on my business. I'm already accounting for it, and I'm making sure that I leave time for those things because that is actually the most important. My business needs to work for my family and not the other way around. Next is to make sure that I'm spending the majority of my time on things that are energy fueled and not effort fueled. So the things that we do every day always fall into one of these 2 categories. Either they are energy fueled and they make us come alive. I know that you know how this feels. There's certain things that you do in your business that after you're finished, you actually have more energy than when you started. The other things that we do could be effort fueled. They drain us. We always procrastinate on these items, and they're just not things that we enjoy. Of course, there's always going to be a little bit of both, but if we start to get to where the majority of what we do is only effort fueled, it is only going to drain us, and we are going to burn out very quickly. So I look at the things that I need to do in my business. First of all, I make sure I'm not doing things that don't actually move the needle. And I look at the things that truly bring me energy. I know that is what is going to be the catalyst for my business, that is going to be the source of innovation and creativity. And I make sure that the majority of the time that I am working on things that are energy fueled and really make me come alive. The next thing I do to avoid burnout is to constantly be doing capacity audits for myself. I know that as a mom of 4, not every season is going to look the same for me and my business, and that's okay. I shouldn't have the same expectations of myself or my business month to month. It's okay for it to change. And usually monthly, if not even sometimes weekly, I do a capacity audit for myself and make sure that am I doing okay? Am I feeling mentally drained? Am I feeling mentally alive? If I am feeling a little more drained, or if maybe that week we just have a ton of appointments or family things that need to get done, I allow myself to pull back a little and trust that the following week I can hop right back in and get to that next level of execution and creativity, but that I can be okay that it ebbs and flows like that. I get to choose my pace on purpose. Next is that I reject fake productivity. I used to just hop on the couch most nights after my kids have gone to bed, get my computer out, and do some work. But that work was kind of just fake productivity. I just felt like I needed to be doing something because I had this scarcity mindset that if I wasn't working and I wasn't producing, everything was going to fall apart. But the things that I did during those times weren't really doing much for my business, and all it was doing was burning me out because I was putting in more hours, but I wasn't getting the return on investment of that time. So now I reject that fake productivity and I make sure that I am working the hours that I say I'm going to work, and I stick to the things that are most important. The next thing on my anti-burnout checklist is something that I think gets overlooked quite a bit. And that is setting for yourself screen and social media time limits. For me, I know it is so hard for me to focus if I have been scrolling on my phone. I know for everyone, this can look a little bit different. It can be lack of focus like me. It could be anxiety. It could be that now you're comparing yourself to everyone else on the internet, which is not good. None of this is helpful for being creative and innovative. The people that I know that are on the top of their game are limiting their screen and social media time to such a small amount. I'm talking like 15 minutes a day or less. And I think if you try this, you are going to be shocked at how this really, really increases your creativity, your joy, and your productivity in your business. Next is just simply living a healthy lifestyle. Now, this is simple, but it's not always easy. So the 3 main things that I like to think of are getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and making sure that I move my body. This doesn't have to be complicated. Just make sure that you're in bed at a good time. You're not looking at screens right before bed. That's going to disrupt your sleep. Making sure that you're not filling yourself with only coffee and sugar and carbs right before you try to get to work. And anytime you can move your body for at least 10 minutes before you get into your work is really going to help your energy and your drive and your creativity. If this is difficult for you, start with at least 1. Give yourself a goal of improving this specific category for a couple of weeks and see how you feel, because the payoff can really be worth it. Finally is to do a yearly business audit. This is so important. I know those of us who are naturally achievers just like to put our head down and work, but it is so important to take a step back and actually look at our business from a very high level to see if it is actually working for us. Does your business still give you energy? Does it still fit your values? Does it still support the family life that you want? And are you still getting joy from this business that you started? I highly recommend that you take this step back at least once a year and make sure that you are on the right path and on the path that you want to be on purpose for your business. So what do you do if you're already burned out? Well, the first place I suggest starting with is reminding yourself of Pareto's principle, or the 80-20 rule. And this rule states that 80% of the results in your business are from only 20% of what you do. So that 20% is going to be key to your growth. And if you're feeling burned out, I want you to really see what of that other 80% that's not producing the results can you just peel back, get back to the basics in your business. It is so hard to do this. It's much easier to add things to our business than to take things away. But I highly recommend that you look at every single thing you do in your business and you decide if it's something that moves the needle or not. What of the things that you do fall in that 20% that are actually moving your business forward? And what do you do that fall in that 80% that aren't producing the results that you want or aren't producing nearly as many results as the other 20% that you can just cut out, that you can get rid of, at least for a time, and focus on that 20% that is really what is the key and the heart to your business. Simplify absolutely everything, cut out the fluff, and just give yourself a little bit of room to breathe. The next piece of advice I would give is to ride the wave. Allow yourself to feel how you're feeling. Acknowledge it and don't just shove it under the rug. But don't stay stuck. Pick at least one of these items from my anti-burnout checklist to start to implement today. If the whole list is a little too overwhelming, don't worry about it. Go back and find the one thing that really tugged on your heart that you think you need to change today. My next suggestion would be to consider if there is a pivot around the corner for your business. Burnout can be a signal that something needs to change, and maybe it's nothing fundamental to your business, but maybe it is. So take this time to pray, seek counsel from others, and really reflect and consider if there's something that really needs to pivot and change in your business for it to work for you again. Burnout is not a sign that you're failing. It's just a sign that something needs to shift. And the good news is you don't have to burn everything down to build a healthier business. Every week, I show up here to teach you how to build a business that you don't want to escape from, one that's truly profitable in 20 hours per week or less. If this resonates with you, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around so that we can continue to grow and scale your online business.